Hello, 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 everyone. It's Stevie Aisha Mills. Yes, we are back for the conversation. Get excited. It is week two. Week two, yes, yes, yes. So I am just excited to be here with my girls, Samira in VA and ME in GA, and I'm here in NC.
Hey.
So I'm gonna turn it over to um, ME. Y'all know me with this whole ME stuff. She's minus Maryland. That's why I call her. But I'm going to turn it over to ME so she can tell y'all what we're going to do today.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being with us on this day. Um, Today, we are just going to kind of kick back and talk about some things. One particular thing that is really prominent in our society right now, especially our particular community, the African American community. I choose to say African American. If you say black, that's fine. Um, but there are some things that are going on amongst us that are kind of like taboo, and we don't really bring it to the forefront. It's like the pink elephant in a big old room, and nobody really wants to be the one to come out and say this is not cool. A few people have touched on it. I believe there have been on BET or Centric, one of those stations. They recently did. I can't think of the name of it. Help me out, Famira. What's the name
Yeah,
of the?
I know that on the OWN network they did two documentaries, one called Dark Girls and one called Light Girls, um, chronological,
Yeah,
side.
absolutely. So today, on our Let's Talk About It, we're going to talk about colorism. And colorism, it's actually something that I had to kind of do a little bit of research on it because I needed to get a very clear understanding of what exactly people mean when they say colorism. And so colorism is, in essence, racism inside of our own color. So we are racist amongst one another is what it boils down to. And I'm real black and white. I don't have a lot of middle pieces to me. And so I don't when I say racism, because that's what it translates to me. It translates to we are racist amongst ourselves. It has to do with the shades of the skin that we are in. You know that we are black women, we are beautiful in all shapes and sizes, flavors, and smells and all of that. But we seem to have an issue going on amongst ourselves whereby maybe it's the darker sisters who are a little bit ostracized, and then there are also situations where it's the lighter sisters who are a little bit ostracized, and then you have sisters like me who has the really pretty brown mama and the really handsome yellow daddy, and so I kind of get that smooth caramel color, so I kind of float somewhere there in the middle, but nonetheless, we have an issue among ourselves. And so we have come here today to have the conversation about colorism. And so one of the things that I came across as I was just making sure that I had the right concept of what this colorism thing is many of you, I'm sure, are familiar with Marshawn Lynch. He is a very vocal, very rebellious young football player out of Oakland, California, I believe.
Okay, praise the Lord. Okay. Bye.
So I'm thinking that
Sorry.
that's who he is and that's what he does. Hey, Elena. And so he has recently made the statement that he prefers a more fair-skinned sister. He doesn't particularly want anything to do with my pecan tan or my sister Famira's, just a little hint of a darker hue. He wants Stevie and Elena on his team. He wants him a fair skin, pretty teeth, pretty personality with some curly hair black woman. And and that's his choice, and that's his choice. But we came here today to have this discussion amongst ourselves colorism, racism inside of racism in the Black community.
Yes, yes. And I want to interject, if I could, that anybody who is watching us who wants to be part of the conversation, you can definitely join us in our Facebook group. It's called The Conversation Talk Show, and you'll be able to connect with us. Someone will be moderating that as well. So let's get into it. Let's get into it now that we're all here. Yes.
Hey, Elena.
Hey, I've been through hell and high water trying to get over here. I hate I missed the introduction.
It's all
Who is this? I heard you saying somebody about a team.
Yeah. I was talking about, excuse me, I was talking about the football player, Marshawn Lynch. He's the running back for the Seattle Seahawks. And he has been very vocal about many things, in that, he has taken this stand against talking to the media, and, I'll only talk to you guys if you come to my hood. And I'm from Oakland, so come to my hood and then I'll talk to you. And so what he has said, and I'm going to quote him exactly, is anything with, are there any bonuses when it comes to women? The question was, are there any bonuses? And his response was, anything with curly hair, fair skin, pretty ass teeth, and a sexy ass personality. Those are probably my number ones. I definitely prefer a light-skinned woman. That was his comment. And so that fits right into what we're talking about today: colorism, racism inside of our very own race. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that it happens in other races as well. I'm sure, amongst Caucasian people, there are those who have olive skin and white skin, and but we can only have the conversation about our skin because that's what we know. Yeah. And so, in order to be factual and speak from experience, we have to talk about us.
Mm-hmm, right. Mm-hmm. I was gonna. I'm glad that you brought that up, Marilyn, because I was gonna say that actually, this is a topic that I have done a lot of extensive research and a lot of conversations around, because it is something that is kind of one of my soapbox topics, I guess, if you will. But just because of the experiences that I've had, and I did want to make sure that when we're having this conversation, that we did make it clear that it is not exclusive to the African American culture. This is something that happens very often, especially in Indian cultures as well as Asian cultures, based on the color of the skin equating their class or their caste system. Mm-hmm. So it's not just us. And also with colorism, it's also sometimes not just about the color of the skin, but also the texture and grade of hair that women have. And so using that to classify who is better than others as well. So just wanted to kind of make sure that we put those two things out there. But just to jump right into what you were talking about, with Marshawn, for example, I mean, that's a comment that a lot of people make. There's a lot of men that make it on the opposite side. They want a darker skinned woman, and that's, and that's what they want. And so in the conversation, too, I want to make sure that it's clear that there's a difference between preference and prejudice. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times that's where the gray matter comes in, I think, for a lot of people, because we all have our preferences. I mean, for me, I would love him to have shoulders and arms and stuff like a linebacker, type of thing. That's my preference. And, and so even with that, there comes, certain looks that you preference. But the problem comes when you meet a fantastic woman that meets all your other criteria, mm-hmm. except for the shade criteria, and you just totally dismiss her because she's not the color or tone that you choose for her to be. That's where the prejudice comes in for me. That's where it's different, where you're so gun-ho on just being stuck in your preference that you're not even willing to be open to what else is out there. Mm-hmm. So I just always want to make that distinction, because a lot of times people, when you hold these conversations, especially around colorism, they automatically are like, well, I have the right to like what I like. And that's true, you do. However, not at the detriment of someone else and someone else's esteem.
Mm-hmm. And you know, I almost feel like people that are that shallow and that want, you know, to, I mean, make their preferences or their choices about who it is that they're going to be with based on the color of somebody's skin, the grade of somebody's hair, you know, without looking at personality, without looking at, you know, vision and purpose and what that person is, you know, here to do. Like, what's your life's mission? If you're going to look at those superficial things without looking at those, I mean, what I feel are, I mean, just those core core characteristics, you know, that make us up, then I say, fine, you know, segregate yourself that way, because I don't want anybody in my space, you know, that, I mean, has those types of views in the first place. But as far as the, you know, whole colorism thing goes for us as the individuals, you know, I think that, I mean, I know for myself that was a huge factor in my life before I even realized that it was a factor. You know, I was this young girl, um, blamed or accused of, you know, thinking that I was better than other people, thinking that I, you know, had the miss it, you know, and all that. Those things were said about me, and I could not figure out why. You know, it was like, what am I doing? It wasn't that I was, you know, being mean to people. It wasn't that I was, you know, I mean, had negative things to say about people or whatever, but it was the way that I was being seen, not by everybody, but by some. And it really shaped the way that I saw myself. I went inward, and I mean, I developed this inferiority complex, and I did not know that the source of why I was being treated that way was the color of my skin at the time.
Right. Well, let me ask this question, ladies. I've always been a little bit curious with this particular topic. Do you think that it's the same thing with women as it is with men? So with men, could like, for instance, would it just be a preference, as opposed to women? Is it more like a jealousy? Like, woman to woman, is it more like a jealousy that, because I have a family member who is very, very fair skinned, and I mean, I love her to death. I love her to death. And my whole childhood growing up, one of the things that she would always say to me is, I wish that I was your color.
Mm.
And so I grew up in a where color wasn't really like a big deal. We just kind of all blended in together. And so my first experience with even recognizing the hues of, so to speak, was being told constantly by a family member that I wish I was your color. I wish I was your color. Now, for me, thank God that was, quote unquote, a positive experience, because she was desiring to be my color, which made my color okay. But from the standpoint of woman to woman, or male to female, would you say that the colorism thing, woman to woman, is more of a jealousy issue, whereas opposed to man to woman, it is more of just a preference?
I think it's the thing where I don't even know if it's jealousy. I think that self-hate.
Yes.
You don't
Mhm.
you
That's
don't
good.
fit into who you are. I know for me, and I probably will post a picture of my parents in the group. Elena has seen both my parents, so Elena knows that I am not their color. I might have the same face as my mom. We're very much alike. Even Facebook thinks we're very much alike. But for me, I grew up in a place where it wasn't that I was jealous of somebody. It was because I wasn't strong enough in Stevie.
Mm,
Mhm.
that's
Have
good.
Good.
That's
hair
good.
down here, and I cut my hair for the sole purpose of I don't want to be the light skinned girl with the long hair. I was trying to break out of every stereotype that anybody can put on me, because I was trying to find myself. So I remember times ago when I was like, I would never wear natural hair. What? I would be so biased about it. I would only shop from certain stores, and that wasn't like the color of it, because it's probably three people my color, or in my whole family on my dad's side, and it's a lot of them. My grandma had 9 kids, so for me, it came from a place where I wanted, like your cousin, you said, Marilyn, wanted to be darker because I'm looking at these people and I'm trying to fit in.
Right.
So not only did I have the self identity of I don't even know who I am right now, but then I also had this thing of my family, I don't even fit in. I remember like my uncle really he was playing, but you know, sometimes when you play it's not really
Yes.
playing. He was playing and saying something like you were adopted or this and that and all this different. I had all these stories, so all the stuff was being put in my suitcase of life. And then I also remember like every time my dad's in a band, every time that people would say, I was like, yeah, my dad's in the band. My dad would be the last person they would pick in the band to be my father, just because we're on two spectrums of color. So I don't think that it's a jealousy thing, and I think that also men they still have it too because you'll hear like the light skinned brothers in style, the dark
Oh
skinned brothers in
yeah,
style.
absolutely.
Mhm.
We still have that. So I
Right.
think we all have somewhere in which we're coming from. I've been told I'm the darkest girl that such and such ever dated, and this, and it's like you just something within you is trying to get an answer to be validated or corrected, and you think if you have this light girl or this dark skinned beauty, whoever, that's going to validate you. But you have to validate yourself before you can even shift the trajectory of your life.
I
Mhm.
do think, I mean, because I do think that it is, you know, that we do have to also remember to and not downplay the role of society and history and media and all of those aspects in it as well. From the simple fact that a lot of it is generational.
Yes.
You know, it's not something that we just woke up and was like, oh, I'm gonna be jealous of light skinned girls, you know, today. And it also comes from, you know, where you grew up and how you. I grew up here in the South, Virginia. Even though a lot of people in Virginia don't want to believe Virginia is the South, I'm sorry to inform you that you are in the South. You are below the Mason Dixon line. Welcome to the South, and it's a Commonwealth on top of that, you know, and so there's a lot of very strict racial, you know, divides and everything here. And so growing up in a state like that, you know, for me, it was definitely, you know, something that was generational. And for me, I always share my story. People that know about me, it wasn't something that I got at home. You know, when you look at my parents, my father is lighter skin, my mom is brown skin, and I'm kind of right in between both of them. But you know, growing up as being chocolate and being kind of one of the darker ones in my community, I went to a predominantly white school, first of all. Then out of the African Americans that were there, you know, there was only the two. And so now I always have this conversation with people because there was always light or dark. Those were the only two options.
Right.
Now people have tried to create this brown skin group in the middle.
Right.
That's really, really people that don't want to identify with either one of the other. So they're like, oh, I'm going to be here in the safe zone and be brown skin. But, you know, that wasn't an option when I was growing up. You were either light or you were dark. And so for me, I was darker than the brown paper bag. I was on the dark hand side. But hair texture wise, I was on the light skin side, you know, because I had, you know, long hair, very soft, all of that. And so trying to figure out where did I fit, where do I go was always a struggle. And so, you know, getting back to what you were saying, Marilyn, I think that even with men, it's not really about a preference sometimes because you even have to watch that and watch in the conversation because what you find is a lot of times you find lighter skinned men that are drawn to darker skinned women because they don't want somebody to
Right.
to challenge their blackness.
Yeah.
You know, so let me make sure I have this new being queen, so everyone knows that you know, that I'm dark and I'm black. And then you have those dark skinned men that want the lighter skinned, you know, woman because it's like, oh, you know, well, you know, because they're trying to satisfy something in them, you know, to say that they're worthy of their position and where they're at. So I mean, with this topic, this is definitely a topic that you can have a whole series on and talk forever about because there's just so many different avenues and different things to play with it and just how it played out in media. And you look at you know, the movies and the roles that different skin colors get between light skin and dark skin. You know, for me growing up, I mean, really in movies, dark skinned women were always the whores, the ones that took care of their kids, the home girl that nobody really liked, but she was just cool with everybody, you know, and that was it. But the desirable ones was always the light skinned girls. They were the wholesome, you know, one you want to take home to your mom, you know, type of roles. And so even as a young girl looking at that, you know, it was like, okay, well, I don't really want to be them. So, you know, in my mind, I'm like, I don't want to associate with what I'm seeing. And so
Mhm.
that's why for me now that there's so many other, you know, hues of women in media and in, you know, in movies that are playing more dynamic roles, it's so exciting to me for the new generation coming up.
Well,
Mhm.
let me say this. I think the concept that Famira speaks of, from the wholesome, you want to take them home to your mama, and then the dark girl who's, you know, kind of slutty, kind of trashy. I think that concept played out very well with the two sisters in the movie Coming to America.
I always talk about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that concept plays out very well right there. But I'm gonna have to say, from an experience point of view, I am in fact on my father's side the darkest, but on my mother's side the lightest. And so for me growing up, I don't know if it's maybe just my personality type, but growing up, I always felt like I was like the perfect balance of everything. And so, so I was never negatively affected by colorism. And you know, back in grade school, and when they would do the list, you know, can you make the list? You know, the pretty girl list. I was always on the pretty girl list, but as I think back, I was always the only brown skinned girl on the, and it probably was because, you know, I had long hair. You know, my mother right now today can sit on her hair, and so it probably had a lot to do with, she's brown skinned, but she has that long pretty hair, so she can make the list. And so, like you said, many things come into play, and so I've only really experienced this concept as an adult, because as a child or even as a teen or even in my early 20s, I just felt like, hey, I'm hovering right there. I'm like the perfect balance of it. You know, I'm the perfect balance of it all. And I don't know if I was straddling the fence, but I'm just comfortably, you know, a brown skinned girl with a little bit of a red undertint, and I'm comfortable with that.
Mhm.
I'm com- and so having this conversation is, it's almost enlightening to me, because it's really something that I have never really spent a lot of time focusing on or thinking about. I have a very fair skinned child who was almost translucent at birth, and then I have two really chocolate little girls, and they're all absolutely beautiful, and I have raised them in such a way that both my fair skinned child and my darker skinned children know that they are absolutely beautiful, to the point where I think my two youngest children, who are more of a brown skin hue, I think they're a little bit more, you know, kind of confident in themselves, even more so than my oldest one, you know, who is the quote unquote pretty girl, and who was, you know, the homecoming queen in a town where, you know, there had never been a black girl, the homecoming queen. And of course, I'm sure that had her, the tone of her skin played a role in that. So this is
Mhm.
to me. So I love that we're having this conversation.
I do too, and it's so interesting to me just to, you know, hear you talk about your experience when you were younger, and about how you know, saw yourself as that perfect blend. You know, you saw yourself as that perfect combination, and just there, I mean, you just exuded that confidence, and I'm getting that from just from the telling of it, you know. But it didn't feel like that for me. It felt like to be confident at that time growing up, and to, you know, look the way that God made me, that felt like an attack. You know, it just felt like, how dare you be confident? You know, how dare you, you know, carry yourself that way, or, you know, just have that air about you. And so for me, you know, it just became this. this thing of not wanting to be seen at all, you know, just kind of withdrawing and just kind of pulling into myself. And my life, my adult life, a lot of that has been about the blooming process, you know, about cocooning to really come out of that and realize now that I can own my gifts and talents. I can own myself, you know, I mean, what I have been put here to do, and I don't have to you know, apologize or withdraw or, you know, just experience or even expect any type of unsafety. But that was what it was growing up. I mean, it was a lot of verbal abuse. It was a lot of physical abuse. It was just, it was a hot mess. And so to hear, you know, so I have seen, you know, I have a heavy friend who is super vocal about how beautiful she is, about how funny she is, about how awesome she is. And it's okay, you know, coming from her. She can say that, but you take someone who, you know, may look different, may be shaped different, may, you know, have that different complexion or hair texture or whatever. They see the same thing.
Go ahead and say it, Elena. You take a light-skinned woman that's fit
with pretty hair.
No, I'm not saying a light-skinned woman that's fit. It doesn't have to necessarily be a light-skinned woman that's fit, because the same thing that you said in the beginning is that those, you know, different preferences, sometimes it is the dark-skinned girl, you know, right. But you take somebody who is that photograph of or that stereotype right. of pretty and have that person right. saying those same things, right. It is a critical beatdown that you about to get.
Right. She's stuck.
How dare you?
Right.
And I don't think that is. I know the fair comes in October, but I do not think that is. It's not fair. But at the same time, it goes back to that psychology. Right. You know, of privilege. What is privilege? And Absolutely. If I perceive you to be someone who I think is privileged, and you got a nerve to let it come out of your mouth that you're privileged, then I got a problem with you.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Like, when I'm saying, like, just go ahead and keep it real. Like, these type of conversations are necessary, not to have to sugarcoat it. The bottom line is, if it is a woman that fits, like you said, the stereotype of what beauty is supposed to look like, and let's be real, and a lot of times what that looks like is someone that is between a size 6 and a size 8, nice and curvy.
I mean, I don't know. You know, because I mean, you got Tyra Banks, you got Lauren Hill.
I'm about to say that. I'm saying okay. The other ones that are dark skinned, that have the nice shape, that are, you know, that have the voluptuous look or whatever, that it fits into that category of the stereotype of what pretty is supposed to be. She can't say that she thinks she's pretty.
Yes.
She can't say that she thinks she's beautiful. She can't say that I rock this without being attacked for being looked upon as the fact that she's being stuck up. You know, all of those types of conversations, whereas someone that doesn't, like you said, that doesn't fit that category, we applaud them for standing in their power of knowing that they're beautiful. Yeah. You know, it's
the reason why we can applaud them for standing in their power is because deep down we don't think they have power. You know, but we perceive power.
Drop.
I mean, that's it, and that's just so not. I mean, right. that is not empowering. That is not empowering.
Not empowering at all.
I want to take a moment to shout out the group, because we have some great dynamics going on, and me and Famira are in the group, and I want to shout out Tanya Franklin. Tanya Franklin is doing her thing, and she has added a lot to this. And I asked, what is your color story? Because Elena was talking about her color story just a few minutes ago. And Tanya said, in middle school, I was shunned because I was called the black white girl. Because of skin tone and because I spoke with an intellectual diction, I would try to speak slang to fit in and downplay my color by playing out in the sun to darken my skin. It only worked in the summer through, though. But the older I got, I became comfortable with my skin because I was shunned because I was too light or just a plain black girl. So I get you, Tanya, and I want to shout you out because you are keeping the conversation going in the group,
And
and I
it's
want to invite all y'all to the group. The group is on and popping. That's all I got to say. Isn't that right, Samira?
yes, 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 yes. I mean, because it's so true. It's like the whole thing is when you're having this type of conversation is that you you do you can't have one without the other. You can't promote self-love and self-image only for certain people and then say, "Oh, because you already should know you pretty, you shouldn't have to say it." Like that's just retarded to me. You
Mhm.
know, we all should be able to stand from the mountaintop and know that this is who God created me to be and I'm beautiful in his image because this is who I am, whatever that image is, you know what I'm saying? Regardless of whether or not it fits into what society says it's supposed to be, what media says, what somebody's preference is, regardless of what that is. I'm some people's preference, you know what I'm saying? Just because I do have, a lot more curves than a lot of other women, and I carry I've heard this 1,000 times. You carry your weight well, whatever that means. But anyway,
Know what
but
you
at the
It
mean,
same
means you're
girl.
a cute,
That's a
you're a
great
cute fit
conversation
girl.
to
You're
have.
a cute fit girl.
like, okay, I carry it well, I guess. I'm carrying it. But, you know, but at the same time, it's like, at the end of the day, for me, I guess what I want women to understand, even in having this conversation, and for us to really get to a place of being confident in ourselves and setting our own beauty standards. That's my message.
And
It's
not
set,
being afraid
set
to set your own beauty standards.
right. Set your own beauty standards and stand in that. Whatever they are for you, they're not gonna look like everyone else's, and they shouldn't.
Mhm.
And stop trying to ask for permission or get validation from other people.
Mhm.
Just this is it. This is what it is. If I want to, like right now, I'm comfortable with myself. I want to lose 10 pounds, 15 pounds. Some people are like, oh no, that's too much. Whatever, that's your business. This is what I want to do. That's what I want to lose. And
Mhm.
Right.
it took me so long to get to this place because of, what was being always shouted at me and always told to me that I was only
This or
good
that.
enough for my body because that was the images that were played out in the media when it came to women of chocolate skin, that you had to be, you know, the whore basically to get attention. And so it was always that your beauty was equated to your body when you were, darker.
Mhm.
It was
But
very over
that makes
sexualized.
it's like for in the media, that was how it was portrayed. You put the light skinned girl up here, you put the dark skinned girl in this role because that sells. But
Right.
Right,
in real life, that does not mean that the light skinned girl is not
right,
sexualized and over
right,
sexualized. And it does not
right,
mean, that the light skinned girl does not come into this place where she feels like that's it. That's all I'm worth, is this
right,
encasement. And so,
Right.
I mean, I have to share my beauty. I have to put it out there. I have to give my body away. I have to, give you what it is that I know that you want so that I can feel
right,
love, so that I can, feel like I belong somewhere. And so, I mean, it's so I mean, it just goes back to that self concept. It goes back to how you see yourself and stop looking for yourself in other people, because looking for
right,
yourself in other people now means you got to get lip augmentation. You got to get Botox. You got to get, concrete injected in your behind. You got to get, I mean, it is a death trap. It is a death trap, and I mean, it absolutely needs to stop. We have got to stop looking outside ourselves for
right.
Well,
validation, for celebration, and for somebody else to say I'm beautiful. I got to be able to say it for myself. I have to.
right. Well, one of
If
the
you don't like it, that's your inferiority complex that you need to work on. But I mean, I have to give myself permission to give myself the space to come out of my own inferiority complex.
well,
Right.
one of the things that I would like to add to this particular conversation is that it's really imperative that that we know and understand that that he said everything that I created is good, and then he doubled
Mhm.
back and said, it's very good. And so when you can set your standard, your beauty standard on the creator of the universe said that I'm good,
Right.
and then he kind of did a double take and said, oh no, she's very good. When
Mhm.
you can sit with that and base how you see yourself based on how God has created you, then you begin to know and understand that outside validation becomes absolutely null and void. If
Yeah.
someone does not like your skin color, then guess what? He's not the one for you. If
Mhm.
someone does not like your hair texture, guess what? He's not the one for you. Because just like God created you very good, he created someone else to match your goodness. And
But
so,
the way you attract that person, Marilyn, is by loving yourself. You know, it is not about who likes me anymore. It is not about who wants
that's
me
right.
anymore. You know,
That's
who, I mean, it's like, oh, let me put a ring on it. It's not about that. It is about me, making a commitment to myself, making a
right.
commitment to my God, seeing him as, I mean, like you said, the one who
Oh,
who
he is the
approves,
lover
the
of
one
my
who says yes.
yes,
Hallelujah.
yes. He is the lover of my soul. And
Yes.
so everything that encompasses this earth suit, as I call it, because this is just skin and flesh and bones, and it's gonna fade away. But the deepest things inside of us, the depth of who we are, is really what God called good. That's what He said. And so if
Mhm. But
you do
God
that
loves
good,
everybody. He loves everybody, but you can
everybody,
still not love yourself. Just because
absolutely.
God loves you does not mean that you love you.
I do absolutely understand that, but we have to get to a place where we trust God enough. Our faith in Him is so strong that when He says we are good, we trust Him enough to believe it. No,
Right.
so when you can't believe what you think or what you see, you have to trust Him enough to know that He says you're good, you're very good, that you are
Hmm.
and wonderfully. We some bad chicks walking around here.
Amen. Amen. But that is the work of life. That is what I
We got
believe
some bad
is the
chicks walking
work.
around here. We gotta believe it though. And if we can't, we gotta trust that God is not a liar. And He says that we're good, and He says that we're fearful and that we're wonderful and that we're marvelous. And so hold on to that until you can get to the place where you actually believe it yourself.
And see, and this is the point that I want us to make sure that we address in this conversation is talking about these things, is talking about what can be done to
Yes.
move past it, because the reality of it is that it is not like Tanya actually commented in the group that this is not a issue of the past. This is a present
Oh,
issue.
very
This issue is still happening right now. That's why there was just recently an episode of Being Mary Jane where they talked about it, and all of these different things, because it is still a current issue in 2015.
it,
I think
you
that if
know,
we get to the
years.
point of, like Marilyn was saying, if we get to the point of accepting and knowing and realizing the things that she's trying to convey, then we personally, that will not affect us. And the more people who get there, the more it will eradicate. It's very hard. This is some stuff that happened for centuries and centuries of time that right now what we presently can do to change the trajectory of it is to change. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. We can't be stuck in the place of what happened when some of us were in the house, some of us were in the field. I don't discount that, but we can't stick there. We can't stick
Mhm.
in the process. We can't even stick in stuff that happened yesterday. We have to move on.
yes,
And in order to move on, you
Mhm.
have to take personal responsibility, each of
That's
us,
it.
for whatever the mindset is. So, yeah, this is a great conversation to have. We realize it, and that's the first thing. The first thing to getting anywhere in life is accepting the belief of it. Once you accept the belief of it, then you can transform your steps. Once you transform your steps, you can make a movement happen. So yeah, we're light skinned, we're dark skinned, we're whatever, but we're all black at the end of the day. We're all African American at the end of the day. So we all need to bond together, get our mind right. If your mind is right, your whole life can change. So
Hmm.
if you stuck in
And
something
it's
what the
still,
white man did, the black man did, the this man did, that woman did, then you're never gonna go from where you need to be, and your life is gonna be wasted because you're not spending the time that you need to get past that point. I'm done.
mhm. I
That
love
was
it.
good
She was
stuff.
about to go. I was
That was
like,
good
yes.
stuff. That was good
But it
stuff.
is. I mean, it's true. And one thing I want to say too that I think is gonna that is imperative that we do is that we stop trying to um make someone stop trying to make someone else's story invalid to validate your story. So,
Mm.
and what I mean by that is so often when we have these conversations, me being darker skinned, I tell my story of what I experienced because I do feel like you got to expose the truth. I'm not in that place anymore, but I know that my story of where I was can help someone else. So,
Absolutely.
yes, I tell my story. However, my story and my reality does not negate how Elena felt
Right.
being on the opposite end of the spectrum. That doesn't mean that what I went through was any less,
Traumatic.
traumatic for me growing up as a little brown skinned girl on the dark skinned side as it was for Elena growing up as a little light skinned girl that retreated because she didn't want to have to deal with it. And
Right.
I think that a lot of times with these conversations is like it stays divided because we still want to hold the mentality of the fact that oh they don't she was like she don't really understand what I went through or they think just because I'm like that I don't it's still keeping that separate instead of saying Elena I embrace you and I can empathize with the pain
Right.
that you went through. And in these ways, my story is similar. No, I didn't get that same treatment, but I too retreated. I hid in my books because it was like if I couldn't be the pretty girl, then I was going, damn sure be the smart girl.
Smart girl.
And that was the stance I took. And so I excelled in everything, book wise for a very long time. I didn't get my first like low grade till like eighth, ninth grade, because that's how I coped. It was like, okay, well I can't be a pretty girl. I'm gonna be the smart and the funny one that everybody likes and wants to be her friend. And that's where my even my gift now of being able to cultivate relationships with people came from because I was like, well, you're gonna like me one way or another. So if you're not gonna like me, because I'm dark skinned, well, you're gonna like me because I'm smart, so you want to know what I know, or you're gonna like me because I'm funny and I'm optimistic. And so I still ended up being the girl that everybody wanted to know because I knew everybody else. And so that became, for me, my coping mechanism of how to get through it. So, but everybody's story, I think, is valid and is a piece of the story that needs to be told so that you can move beyond it. But until people can stop trying to negate somebody else's story because it's not their story, that's where, to me, the first pivotal breakdown begins because you can't even have the conversation.
Mhm.
It's like we can't even talk about it because I don't want to acknowledge that you were hurt
Right.
because your
Right.
hurt was not the same as my hurt, so
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
one of
And
the
also
things.
feeling like, acknowledging somebody else's experience just kind of, you know, sweeps your experience under the table. It's like
right,
I mean, I don't have to not love myself and not be here for myself, be available for myself to be available to you, you know? I mean, I can
Right.
listen to your story, I can listen to your pain, I can listen to your hopes, your dreams, those things that you want to create with your life and not lose myself in that. I am a person. I am a person.
right, right,
That
exactly. I mean,
self-love piece is just so, my goodness, I mean, we don't have to give ourselves away to share ourselves,
mm, I
You
like the
talk.
way because we are trying to keep in touch with the Facebook group. Tanya just posted this one statement that really kind of sums it all up, and it is very profound. I like the way she worded it. And Tanya said, coping and overcompensation for acceptance due to colorism. It brings, she said, wow, this brings in a different perspective to this whole thing. And I think that is where the similarities lie, because regardless of what the story was that was being told, we each created coping mechanisms
Yeah.
and we created overcompensation mechanisms to cope with what we experience. And when we can realize that's where the common ground is,
Mhm.
then we can be able to say, okay, we can step over this hurdle now into, into a different type of relationship
Mhm.
as sisters, as sisters of the African American culture.
Mhm.
That's good.
I think when you
Absolutely.
put things in perspective, like the things of the world that's happening, like police brutality, that's a black issue, a black male issue. That's not a light skin versus dark skin. Those brothers who have lost their lives, they, the police weren't caring what shade they were. When you put things in perspective of the bigger picture, then the small things don't matter as much. Um, and I think School Days, I love School Days, it's one of my favorite movies, but I think that School Days really did a great job of that because when we had the pre-conversation for this, I was saying how Spike Lee truly made a dynamic impact for people to get face to face with it by putting the quote unquote wannabe
And the
in a better
jigaboo.
hotel than the
Yeah.
jigaboo. The stuff that we put in concept of our own issues. And like you said, coping mechanisms. Well, like you said, if you wouldn't have gone through that whole journey of this, then you would not have been the connector you are. If you didn't go through this whole journey of having to, like, if I didn't go through my journey of wanting to cut my hair because it was very long, I probably would never have gone natural because, and I never would have big chopped. And that was one of the most profound things that I could have done for my life because I saw myself in my complete beauty. I saw myself without my hair. That became an adornment. I went from long hair to no hair. And it changed the trajectory of my life. So I think sometimes we hide or we welcome things into our life that we don't want to, but we have to. We have to go through that step in the journey in order to get to the next step in the journey, and so on and so on.
Absolutely. We have to go through the process. And I'm a firm believer that we're always right where we're supposed to be. Um, every single moment, every single second of the day, we are doing and being and saying and feeling and thinking exactly what is supposed to be done in that moment. We are walking out steps that have already been laid before us. And so, ladies, we are coming up on the 4 o'clock hour in just about 10 minutes. And so um, I'm going to say what would be, um, I'm looking at the screen and I'm seeing that we are a great representation of this conversation because we are four different shades of black. Howbeit, we are black, we are African American women, we are women of color. But my question would be in closing, when a little girl comes up to you, a young girl, not even a teenager, but she comes up to you and she's already aware at 5, 6, 7 years old, she's already aware of the color of her skin. And that's kind of where, for me, that's where the conversation really begins because we're born people. We're not born black people, white people, green people. If you put all the little shades of people in one room and that's all they ever came in contact with, I don't know that there would ever really be a recognition of color or hues of skin or what your hair feels like or any of that. But the conversation begins, with that little girl who comes up to maybe Elena and says, "Oh my God, your hair is so pretty," and she has little plaits in her hair. But I want my hair, I want my hair. I love your hair. I want to have your hair, and so I'm sure many. many of us viewing, or even us ourselves, as little girls ran around with the coat on your hair, or whatever, to make your hair longer. I think that's really, really where the conversation begins, is in the little people, and so what do you say? What do you say to the 5-year-old, to the 6-year-old who has already encountered in their preschool or their kindergarten class, or maybe even in their own family, it's that awareness that we are the same, but what about that but is where this whole conversation comes in. We are the same, but because to people who are not black people, we're black.
Yep.
That's that. We're black. I have an aunt who she could go somewhere and pretend that she's white, but she's black. At the end of the day, from white pale Creole to the backwoods of Bambata, Africa, we are black, and that's what other people see. So the conversation really begins at we are the same, but. So how do we start that portion of the conversation in our babies?
I'll suggest, if that baby was in front of me, I'd say, baby, we all are we're all God's creatures. I mean, that's the thing I would start with, and I would tell her. Me being me, I would probably show her the pictures of my long hair, and show her the pictures of my no hair, and show her that I am just Stevie, and that she's just her, and that is the most beautiful thing that you could ever be. Just knowing that you have the freedom of your life to just be you. Just enjoy the moments of being a child.
Yeah.
That's whoever attracts to you is going to be there. You have so many things, and God created the colors of the rainbow just like He created the colors of each of us. So, my dear sweetheart, you don't have to be anybody but you. Your hair, girl, we could buy you a wig at Toys R Us. They got some over there. We could buy you some. Whatever you need, we could buy you some. God has blessed us all, but we can't buy you your heart. We can't buy you your vision. And I would just give him a hug and we have some ice cream, but it's only as serious as we make it serious at 5 years old.
Yeah.
It's if we show them that they're not going to be um, impacted by someone else, if we show them that they could be around some other pretty little brown skinned girls, then it's going to be just a blessed experience. But we as adults have to get ourselves right in order to get our girls right, because it starts with the head. That's why I still mentor girls now. I still volunteer with girls now, because I know to whom much is given, much is required.
All right.
Amen.
Diamond Diva or Elena, how would you guys how would you say that was excellent, Stevie. I love that response. And I like ice cream too.
Yeah, that was good.
Thank you.
I mean, I would just say to her, we are the same. We are all the same. But for real, there is nobody else on the planet like you. There has never been,
Yes.
there will never be. And, there is nobody else that God has ever created to create and manifest the things that He made you to make. And He equipped you perfectly. Nothing is missing, nothing is broken. And whoever can't and doesn't know how to celebrate that, whoever chooses to attack that in you, that uniqueness in you, that is them. That is not a reflection of you. That is a reflection of them and, their junk and their clutter. And so just do you, accept you, and love you no matter what.
Yes. Okay. All right now. The Diamond Diva.
So for me, it would definitely be to tell her that unique is a beautiful word. And so, part of my story is that I thought that unique was a bad word. I didn't want to be unique. My name is unique, look unique, all of those things. But what I've come to realize is that uniqueness is what beauty is based on, and just sharing that with her and tell her to embrace the uniqueness, of who she is, and knowing that she's beautiful just as she is, knowing that she was made in God's image, perfect in His sight, um, and to really hold to that, because when and let her know when the world is shouting at you, listen to the whisper. Don't listen to the shouts. All the things that are going on around you and what other people are saying, and what other people are trying to put on you. Just really instilling very early on that there's no box. And so don't allow someone to put you in a box, regardless of this, if it's a box on how you're supposed to look, if it's a box on how you're supposed to talk, if it's a box on what you're supposed to do for a living, if it's a box on how you're supposed to think, what type of hobbies you're supposed to have. There's no box. You create what you want your life to look like. Get to know yourself, who you are at the essence of the heart of your heart, of who God created you to be. If you're like me and you like tutus and motorcycles, then put that motorcycle jacket on with that tutu, and and rock it out. There's nothing wrong with that, and just really explaining to her that she is a culmination of so many things, and to embrace that uniqueness about who she is, and not bend to what everyone else tells her she's supposed to be.
Great.
Express your beauty out loud. That's part of the out loud portion of what I always say with my hashtag. Beauty out loud the out loud part is having that confidence in the uniqueness of the beauty of who you are.
Amazing, amazing. Oh my goodness, have we not had a conversation today?
Mm,
But
And what would you tell the little girl, Emmy?
my response to the little girl would simply be, do you know that there is no other person on this planet who can be perfectly you? You're the only one who is ever going to be perfect at being you. Whatever that is, you're going to be perfectly flawed. You're going to be perfectly designed. Your hair is going to be perfect. Your body's going to be perfect. But it's all going to be very divinely designed to you, and nobody else will be able to do that. So why would you want to be any part of me? Why would you want to be any part of me? Because I'm the only one who can be perfectly me. So in order for us to operate and stand in the perfection of being divinely designed by an awesome, magnificent creator, we have to stand in the divinity of who we are. That would be my response to the little girl. But we have
Marilyn, I have to shout Tanya out one more time because this resonates with my heart, what she wrote, and I know Samir saw it, but she said, your story is your it factor. Use it to shape you and move you to your next level to elevate someone else. Amen, my sister.
mhm.
amen, amen. Snap, snap, snap.
Yes,
Well,
yes,
Tanya.
yes.
well, we have had an awesome, awesome conversation today, ladies. And I tell you, when you hear the term "let's talk about it," do we not begin to talk? So we will be here again, same next week, 3 p.m. on Tuesday, and we will be having a conversation based on just real life issues, the daily grind, what we go through, what we wish we were going through, because there are some situations that we desire to be in that we're not in. Um, just life in general. And so we thank you for joining us to have this conversation today on colorism. Meet us in the Facebook group. We'll pop over there and we'll be interacting over there for a little bit. But you have been with me, M.E. Porter, your solution sage, Miss Stevie Aisha Mills, the It Factor Master. That's me saying that. Miss herself, the Diamond Diva, who just does her thing all the way around. And Miss Elena, who brings to us such a calm and peaceful balance amongst us all with our beautiful black selves. We will see you next week. It has been a great conversation. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.